Dirty business.
He's going to be out a while.
I'm not scared to take the free throw.
I'm picking on Big Ben today.
I was thinking too much, overthinking.
The best player I saw last week was Ben
Simmons, the kid at LSU. Did you see the numbers he put up last night? He's the best passer in the country.
The best all-around prospect since LeBron.
He'll be the clear-cut #1 pick. People will be tanking.
Ben Simmons. From future superstar to the NBA's biggest mystery, there was a time when Ben Simmons wasn't a punchline, but a prophecy, a 6'10" phenom with the handle of a guard, the passing vision of a Hall of Famer, and the physical tools to guard anyone on the floor. Analysts didn't ask if he'd be great. They asked how soon. From high school courts in Florida to packed arenas in the NBA, Simmons was hailed as the next evolution of basketball.
Simmons, pretty.
But somewhere between expectation and execution, something broke. This is the story of Ben Simmons, the chosen one who became a ghost. A journey marked by brilliance, fear, pain, and silence. Before the memes, before the collapse, before the silence, Ben Simmons was a high school demigod. At Montverde Academy in Florida, Simmons won 3 national titles. His combination of size, speed, and skill was unheard of. A teenager who looked like an all-NBA forward and passed like a point guard. He averaged 28 points and 11.9 rebounds in his senior year. Slam magazine called him a basketball savant. Scouts used the word generational like punctuation. He was the consensus #1 recruit in the country. So when he chose LSU, a program with no recent national pedigree, the sports world was puzzled. But Simmons' godfather, David Patrick, was an assistant coach there. Loyalty won out. Simmons dominated at LSU. He averaged 19.2 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 4.8 assists. But his year wasn't smooth. Despite his individual brilliance, LSU missed the NCAA tournament. Simmons was accused of coasting through games, lacking leadership, and avoiding the media. The "can't miss" label started to fray, not because of talent, but because of attitude. Still, none of that stopped NBA executives from drooling. In 2016, the Philadelphia 76ers made him the #1 overall pick. The process had delivered Embiid. Now it had delivered Simmons. The league braced itself for a new super duo. Ben Simmons' NBA debut was delayed. A broken right foot during training camp cost him his entire rookie year. Some whispered that Philly was cursed. But when he finally stepped onto the court in 2017, he was unstoppable. Simmons averaged 15.8 points, 8.1 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game.
That pass eludes Baines, an opportunity for the Sixers perhaps to work 2 concessions for 1.
He made plays few players his size could even imagine, slicing through defenses with Euro steps, whipping cross-court passes, and defending positions 1 through 5. He won Rookie of the Year, the Sixers won 52 games, and the process felt like destiny. Over the next 3 years, Simmons made 3 straight All-Star teams. His numbers were solid, 16 points, 8 boards, 7 assists, but his true value was everywhere else, defending All-Stars, running the break, leading fast breaks off rebounds. He was named to the All-Defensive First Team. In 2021, he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. But the flaw was always there. Simmons wouldn't shoot. He passed up mid-range jumpers. He ignored open threes. Teams began to sag off him, daring him to shoot. The internet noticed. The memes started. But as long as he was producing, the Sixers lived with it. Until the postseason. Until Atlanta. The 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals were supposed to be the Sixers' coronation. They were the #1 seed. They had home court advantage. Their opponent, the 5th-seeded Atlanta Hawks, were younger, smaller, and less experienced. Philly had the stars. Philly had the defense. Philly had the expectation. But Simmons had a problem. Through the 7-game series, he shot just 34.2% from the free throw line. The worst percentage in NBA history for a player with at least 70 attempts in a single postseason. Atlanta began the hack-a-Ben strategy, intentionally fouling him to force him to the line, and it worked. But the moment that defined the downfall came in Game 7. With 3:30 left in the 4th quarter, the Sixers were down 2. Simmons spun past Danilo Gallinari and had a clear path to the basket. Trae Young, 6 inches shorter and 60 pounds lighter, rotated over, and Simmons passed. He dumped the ball to Matisse Thybulle, who was fouled and split the free throws. The arena gasped. The fans knew, the teammates knew, Simmons knew. He'd passed up a dunk, not because it was the wrong basketball play, but because it was the safe play. The play of a man running from something. Philly never recovered. Atlanta advanced, and the backlash began. The offseason was brutal. Coach Doc Rivers asked if Simmons could be a championship point guard, said, "I don't know." Joel Embiid said the turning point was the passed-up dunk. Simmons felt betrayed by his coach, by his teammate, by the city. He went silent. That summer, Simmons refused to report to training camp. He demanded a trade. He cut off communication with teammates. When he finally showed up, unannounced, he looked detached, barely engaged in drills. He was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. Then came the statement. Simmons was dealing with mental health issues. He wasn't ready to play. The sports world exploded. Some were sympathetic, many were not. Pundits called him soft, teammates were frustrated, fans turned savage. His every move became content. But few paused to consider what it was like to be Ben Simmons in those moments, a player drowning in expectation, ridiculed nightly, unsure whether his next step would be mocked, misunderstood, or both. Months passed. Simmons never suited up. The Sixers fined him millions. And finally, in February 2022, the saga ended. Simmons was traded to Brooklyn, but the silence followed. In Brooklyn, Simmons was supposed to find rebirth. He joined Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, a super team assembled for a title run. The Nets envisioned Simmons as the perfect fit, a defensive anchor, a secondary playmaker, a low-usage star. But he didn't play. Back soreness, mental hurdles, lingering issues. By the time the 2022 playoffs began, the Nets said he'd return in Game 4 of the first round. Game 4 arrived, and Simmons didn't suit up. The Nets were swept, and the jokes returned.
Plans to make his return on Monday in Game 4 against the Celtics, and certainly that's barring any kind of a set.
The Nets have ruled out Ben Simmons for Game 4 on Monday. Told the Nets that he was experiencing back soreness again.
A year later, Durant and Irving were gone. The super team had disintegrated, and when Simmons finally returned to the court, he wasn't the same. His athleticism was dimmed, his confidence gone. He passed up layups, looked lost on offense, and hesitated in ways that once seemed impossible. He averaged just 6.9 points per game in 2023. He was benched, then shut down, again, from all-star to afterthought, in under 2 seasons. In the summer of 2024, Simmons signed a minimum deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, the only team willing to take a chance. No spotlight, no expectations, just a role. A shot at something resembling redemption. In LA, Simmons wasn't the star. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden cast long shadows. Simmons simply had to fit in, defend, pass, play smart basketball. And slowly, he did. He guarded elite wings. He ran fast breaks. He made the extra pass. His shot still wasn't there. It may never be. But he began to resemble an NBA player again. Not a superstar, not a savior, but a survivor. For all his struggles, Ben Simmons is still one of the most uniquely talented players the league has ever seen. Teammates like J.J. Redick and Seth Curry have spoken out in support, praising his court vision, his basketball IQ, his ability to do things others can't. Doc Rivers, long after their fallout, said Simmons was one of the most gifted defenders I've ever coached. And Simmons himself? In rare interviews, he's spoken about anxiety, about fear, about the mental strain of public failure. It's not just basketball, he said in 2023. When it feels like the world's laughing at you, you stop trusting your instincts. You start surviving instead of playing. His honesty was jarring and rare. Few athletes speak like that. Fewer are heard. Ben Simmons was supposed to be the face of a new NBA. Positionless, versatile, elite. He never reached that mountaintop, and maybe he never will. But what if the tragedy isn't that Simmons failed to become a superstar, but that we only allowed him one definition of success? He was never given the space to struggle, to grow in the shadows, to learn without shame. His story is cautionary, about pressure, perfection, and public perception, but it's also unfinished. As of now, Ben Simmons is only 28 years old. He still defends at a high level, still sees the floor like few others, still battles, quietly, without fanfare, for a second act. It may never resemble the stardom he once knew, but it might be something more real. Not a highlight reel, but a comeback. Not LeBron 2.0, but Ben Simmons, version 2, a version he defines on his own terms.